one of the biggest things as a fantasy football player that's the hardest is that start-sit decision.
Well, when you hear quote-unquote start your studs, that's really...
What's up, everybody? Today we have a special guest on, Jake Ciely, freaking from The Athletic. He is awesome. I met him last month through a friend, and he was like, "Yeah, this dude's a beast at fantasy." And I was like, "Heck yeah, he is." So he was willing to come on to our humble, lowly podcast because he's a great dude.
So yeah, if you want to check out Jake's stuff, he just joined The Athletic. He was the #1 fantasy analyst on Fantasy Pros last year, and his Twitter is @TheAllInKid. He's also on the Pat Mayo Experience and the Fantasy Footballers. So check him out. He's got some great stuff.
Is there anything you need to add in there, Jake, before I throw out this?
I think my Twitter profile is what Ryan said. Actually, I might need to change it to that.
Oh, okay.
He's awesome. He's cool. He's a friend and stuff.
It's like one of those 50-word letter ones.
He's
Just
a
keep
good
going
man.
forever.
He's a good man.
This sounded like the guy oh crap, I gotta get this essay for school and I've got to get 500 words. He's cool and
gosh,
awesome.
I hate that.
And
He's the comma guy with the run-on sentence. It's like forever
let me
adjectives.
increase the font to 16 and double space.
Exactly.
Wonder if I make the paper margins
Yes.
wider. All right, so we're going to start off with a party cue. One of our listeners asked us about this to throw it in here. So we got this random one, Jake. We'll give you some time. I'm going to start off with Ryan, but as odd as this is for a bunch of guys to think of, which Disney character's story does your life most resemble?
/ who are you the most like as a Disney character, right?
You go for it.
However you want to interpret it.
You're starting it off, Ryan.
My family always said I was like a brat, like Gaston.
Really?
Oh,
They
okay.
always be like, "You're such a brat, like you're like Gaston." I'm like, "What's the
Gaston.
crap?" But I like to think of myself more as like the chiseled, like boyfriend of Pocahontas, like the one that
John Smith.
didn't get her. No,
Mel
the one
Gibson.
that didn't get her.
Oh, the one. Oh.
Yeah. You know, just like great in the woods. You know, man of the outdoors.
I have to rewatch.
Wasn't he
Pocahontas.
racist?
Yeah, I was like, wait, he didn't like the white people,
No,
wasn't
the
it?
Indian guy.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, you know,
Oh,
great
okay.
with a bow and arrow.
No, I'm thinking of the opposite.
good looking.
Mr. Purple Cap.
You really remember this movie. I don't remember Pocahontas at all.
Yeah. So, Sean, who
Sean,
would you
what's-
say?
So
yours?
yeah, mine's kind of a funny one. I thought Paca from Emperor's New Groove. I'm like, I didn't come from like a super rich family, but I got like a couple of high maintenance friends here, Ryan and Chris. You know,
High
so you just got to
High
deal with them.
maintenance.
Yo, yeah.
What about you, Chris?
Mine, I've changed it a couple of times, but I think Pumbaa from Lion King. Because when it says storyline, I was like, yeah, can't you remember walking into a crowd of people and ripping one and, farting in somewhere and everyone
kinda
just
looks like
goes
Pumbaa.
away? Yeah, thanks. I'm a fat brown guy. Thank you. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember farting in class once, everyone looking around. I was like, yeah, I'm Pumbaa. It's like,
Okay.
when I was a young
I thought we were picking
warthog.
ones we wanted, but I guess
But
not.
you know
so.
what? I wouldn't mind him either.
All right, Jake, who would you consider to be your...
This has already gone off the rails. Yeah, so I was, what I was gonna say is I could see a little bit of Cusco from the Emperor's New. I appreciate the Emperor's New Groove call out there.
Yeah.
That's a very underrated movie. But
I love it.
I don't need to be taught to be a nice guy, as Ryan pointed out. But as you can see, as you can tell from the personality, I'm very, not arrogant but close. That's why I was thinking of that, and then I was kind of thinking of like maybe Hades, but I'm not quite that evil.
Oh, no.
So I guess instead of Pumbaa, I'm gonna go with Timon because he's
There we go.
kind of the mix. He's very sarcastic, but then when you see at the one part of the movie, I'm gonna break down the Lion King for everybody, but
Do it.
Do it.
he actually has a really good heart when you see him talking with Simba about Nala. You actually see he's got a good heart, even though he's sarcastic. So there you go.
Whoa. That's a
Boom.
good one.
I like that one. That was some analyst on that too.
He
man.
just
That's
beat
some
us in that too.
Yes.
Son of a gun.
And I think through Disney characters, Jake and I have become best friends since that's how the storyline
Jake,
goes.
can you
right?
confirm or deny that
No.
you and Chris are now best friends?
I deny.
No,
Deny.
he denies. He denies that. We don't know.
Snap.
All right, well, let's get to some football here, Chris.
Finally. All right, so we got some questions for you, Jake. We want to start off. We've seen your hashtag ban kickers campaign. Could you elaborate more on that? We are definitely behind you when it
Some
comes
of
to
us
the
are.
kicker
They are.
frustration.
I'm sorry, I gotta be real. I love him, but you're also like, the bee's knees, and I'm not. So I'm willing to listen.
So could you elaborate more on your
Yeah, for our
ban
league, I'm
kickers
gonna use this
campaign?
as ammo in the off season to try to ban kickers.
So, well, that's the bad thing is there's a site that I used to work for a while ago, is football.com, which never got off the ground, or like it did, but it never succeeded, which is you get the best URL in the history of anything when it comes to use football. It's football.com, and you can't succeed. But I wrote an article for them about banning kickers. This all started way back with Rob Baronis when he kicked 8 field goals, and yeah, he's passed away at this point. But anyway, that's where the frustration started. So whether you look at that or not, it's a decade. It's even if you take the best team, the fact is like you look at Gostkowski, who was inside the top 5 more years than he wasn't. But even if you take the best case scenario, you can't guarantee field goals every single week because what if the team's scoring all touchdowns and then you get ones? And even go back to Gostkowski, even if you take Gostkowski, you can't even take him on a week-to-week consistency basis. Like Saquon Barkley is producing every single week. Even if you go down to wide receivers, let's take a John Brown. He has like a bad week or two. Kickers can go from 3 because they score 3 touchdowns and won 21 to something, or they can go score 21 because all they could do is keep getting in field goal range. And it's just the only way I can get behind it is maybe for DFS, but as you saw, they even got rid of it on FanDuel. So it's just not only ban kickers, but it's add another flex to your league so you make the player pool absorbed onto the teams. Like, go deeper, become more knowledgeable. Just stop wasting it. Like, look, fantasy football is so lucky to begin with. Why include a position that is the highest luck factor of them all?
I just don't like we spend all this time researching and then you lose because, like you said, your kicker had 3 touchdowns and not 6 field goals.
Oh, and I love when the kicker gives you the negative points that week.
Yeah, we got to take that out. We have a negative for missing over like 40.
We punish our kickers.
I actually, if we did this about a week later, I have ban kickers T-shirts coming.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
I will
man.
be buying one.
He's going to be wearing it for the rest of the season on podcast.
Hey, if you do, you don't have to pay shipping. So there you go.
There we
Yeah,
go.
exactly. I can go pick it up.
All right, so my next question here, we're going to go to with the Browns trading away Carlos Hyde. Is Nick Chubb an RB1 now, in your opinion?
I don't think he is, and I'm a huge Nick Chubb fan. I actually said in the draft when I wrote him up is that people forget in college when he replaced Todd Gurley, people are like, ooh, he might be better than Todd Gurley before he got hurt. Now it's taken him a long road to get back. He's close to it, and I love the talent for the future, but I don't think he's matchup proof yet, and that's why if you're an RB1, I want you to be matchup proof. I'm looking at the matchup this week for specific reasons. Is Pittsburgh Steelers very, very good against the run. As we've seen so far, they're miserable against the pass. But if you look at this game, we would assume you'll see more Duke Johnson this week, and that's my only concern. Maybe they stick with what they were doing before, and just they're being bullheaded and don't use Duke Johnson, who's one of the best pass catchers in the league. But at right now, I'm not ready to get. I love Nick Chubb, but I'm not ready to get behind that kind of use because I don't see it happening just yet. And if you look at last week's game too, outside the big run and the touchdown, he had a very quiet game. And I never like to take anything away, but the first almost full 3 quarters, he wasn't looking very impressive last week.
That's true. In one of his other bigger games, it came all off 3 carries. So, yeah,
Right.
the volume's not there.
It's like 33 yards to carry, brah.
Yeah, like put it in perspective. So like another rookie, Kerryon Johnson, how would you compare the two of them? Would you take Chubb or Kerryon rest of season?
Well, so if you told me both were getting similar use,
Yeah.
I'd take Chubb. If you told me the use was close and Chubb was slightly behind, it's neck and neck, but I'm going to take Chubb because I don't trust Matt Patricia. Theo Riddick is out right now. If Theo Riddick is back this week, he's coming from that whole Bill Belichick tree of keep using multiple running backs.
Yeah.
We saw Kerryon up until last week. He looked amazing every time he touched the ball. Give him more touches, give him more touches, give him more touches. Maybe that game is going to force his hand and he wakes up, but I still don't trust him yet. If Theo Riddick's healthy, I don't trust him.
Gotcha. Sean, what you
All
got?
right, so I had more of a broad question here. I think this is one of the biggest things as a fantasy football player that's the hardest is that start-sit decision. Trying to figure out who do I start this week. I have a high talent starter that I always start, but I have this awesome matchup for this guy I picked up off the waiver wire. So I was just wondering how, when you're going through your rankings, how do you kind of weigh the talent versus the big matchup?
I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at you. Were you in the chat today? Did you join the athletic chat?
I did not. No.
I asked that very question was asked to me today during the. I have a chat noon every single Wednesday. That was almost to word for word the question that somebody asked me. No,
Well,
really,
people
when it
want to
comes
know. So
yeah, well, and they kind of said it's to start your studs, but how do you, what about the matchups? And I said, well, when you hear quote unquote start your studs, that's really RB1s, wide receiver 1s, and wide receiver 2s. So basically, once you get down to RB2s, wide receiver 3s,
okay,
then you start getting the conversation of matchups. And I write a matchup column every single. Actually, what I'm working on right now is APA. It's what I have a formula that is adjusted points allowed for defenses because it attributes. You guys know this. If you faced Aaron Rodgers every single week, or if you faced CJ Beathard every single week, you're going to give up more fantasy points to a quarterback. Yeah. So it adjusts for that. What it comes down to is that if they're closely ranked, just in general, if you took matchups out of the equation, then that's where the matchups come into play, and that's where it breaks the tie. If it's, I'm looking at RB13 normally versus RB28, the matchup's probably not going to be enough to make me start RB28. But as I tell everybody all at the same time, and I'm sure you guys have done the same, is sometimes, occasionally, that RB28 will be the right call. So trust your gut. Like I would give you the best advice, and you guys know this, and this is not a self backpat, but even being the number one accuracy person, still only around 70%. That means I missed 30% of the time. So I'm not perfect. And sometimes sometimes there's something in the back of your mind that you remember that's just kind of like nagging at you that you can't put the finger on. Yeah. And there's a reason you have the gut call that you have. Like everything I said, don't start Andy Dalton last week, and I still ranked him inside my top 10. I knew it, and yet I did anyway.
Should have listened to the gut.
Yep.
Okay, and then a kind of similar question, just I guess more of a selfish question for us as we're starting to try to do this like analyst type of thing. How do you come up with rankings? Do you use like last week's as a reference? Do you use, where they traditionally land? Just kind of curious how you go about that process.
I could tell you exactly how to do it, and I'm not worried about it because you're not going to be able to replicate it unless you do all the work. You could do it all but I would say you can't replicate me. You could do all the same exact work. It's a giant projection system, and I always rank to my projections. That's why I was also successful in baseball. And again, now is going to sound self-backpatting, but I finished first 2 years in a row for baseball, and I'm first for the last 3 years overall. The only reason I say that is because I do the same thing for baseball that I do for football, and that's I work through my projections, and I trust the projections. And, sometimes, again, the gut call told me I don't want to start Andy Dalton. The projection said otherwise, but more often than not, the projections are right because what the projections involve are game script, Vegas lines, teams, what do they do when they're behind? Because you look at the Vegas line, so you look at the pace of play. So if somebody is one of the highest pace of play teams in the league when they're down by 7 and you expect that game to be so, that adjusts for the play numbers. And then you talk about the passing. And so it's just a waterfall effect. You go with what do you expect the team to do? Well, what does that mean for the quarterback? Okay, what do you see target share for each of the receivers and their catch rates? And it ends up being this super giant mega size spreadsheet. And then you get all your spit out projections, and then you look at the projections, and maybe, some of them might not make sense because you don't have huge data or a history. Nick Chubb is a perfect example. It's like the projections aren't going to be able to do so much with Nick Chubb. Yeah. So some of it is tinkering after the fact, and that's why I say where you won't be able to replicate it is even if I gave you the spreadsheet, it's still you need to be able to watch football for 50% of it and adjust where your mind says, this is what I know. And so I always tweak the projections after they come out for what I know. I should have done more for Andy Dalton because I knew. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. And Ryan, you got a question? What? Go ahead.
Is it really? Is it really helpful?
Well, it's helpful to know that's how you do it. It's good. It is definitely a lot of work that we see you put in. Definitely.
Yes.
Ryan's got a selfish question here.
I have a very selfish question, Jake.
But
I think it's good for like other people to hear it too. And we already talked about it, but what the heck does one do with Le'Veon Bell and James Conner I have them on my team. I feel okay.
Wait, you have them both?
Yeah, I
have
don't know
them
why
both.
he's freaking
Yeah.
out.
I mean, do they come back and I lose my RB1? You know.
No. So if you have them both, you have nothing to worry about. Honestly, like this, worst case scenario, they share the backfield some, but unless the Steelers are going to be, I'm going to say it, thick-headed. I know James Conner's looked great, but let's be honest, he's also had a down game. He's also had a mediocre game. He's also not Le'Veon Bell, and I know Le'Veon Bell is. You could make the argument he leaves this team next year and isn't the Le'Veon Bell we used to know. And that D'Angelo Williams, James Conner, you go down the line. But there's also been running backs that have done nothing. You've gone through some very poor talent like Fitzgerald Toussaint and has done nothing for that team. And, he's not even close to James Conner in talent. But it's some the Steelers. It's some talent. I think James Conner is talented in his own right. But again, he's still not Le'Veon Bell. For somebody who owns both, I'm not concerned about it. The only thing I would say is, if you're 6-1, 7-0, if you're top of the league or something like that, I might float out James Conner to somebody who needs him because now you can wait a week or two, and with that, you can live without James Conner. I do think it's going to be Le'Veon Bell's backfield. It won't be the 80% it used to be, but 65% still for that team is still being Le'Veon Bell is still going to be an RB1. Now, if you only own one or the other, you only own James Conner, you need to sell before it's too late because that lottery ticket's burning up in your hand by the days go by. If you own Le'Veon Bell and you're a losing record and you need to win now, you need to trade him. You got to stop waiting.
Okay, that's good. That gives me a lot of hope.
But you have nothing to worry about. Now, if anything, like I said, what's your record?
I'm 6-0,
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. So do you float out James Conner to somebody who needs a running back?
That's what I told him to
Do
do.
you want to know what my real strategy is, Jake?
You're gonna be disappointed.
Somehow I play fantasy. My opposing teams just fall apart.
He is, we call him, He
I'm
just
the-
self-destructs other teams. Every week,
Yeah.
3 players on their team go out on on injured.
Wait, hold on. Is this like a Kevin Durant thing? Do you have
The
like
burner
5
accounts?
burner teams in this league?
I don't know what's happening. No, but it's like legit, like on the field. Like he'll play somebody who has Will Fuller, Gronk, and another player that go down that week.
Fournette, yeah.
It's been a lot of luck. As much as I want to be like, oh yes, no, it's not like that.
I think he's just hiding behind it. Just so
I'm sure that's
he can
hard
play
for
it
you to
off.
believe that I, am lucky and not, successful.
no.
Not
That's-
smart.
Oh, okay.
So
I
going
have-
on with luck there, Ryan, your next
Yeah,
question.
next
Yeah,
one.
I have
Goes
a
right in
question.
there.
Circling back to like the whole psychoanalysis versus analysis, numbers versus gut stuff. I wanted to know, like, you've touched on this some, but like, how much stock do you put into like a player's psyche? Their diet, how they perform. Maybe I'll go as far as to say like what I like players that have something that they play for like outside of football. They're like, this is it sounds bad, but I'm like, this is for like my family or this is for that. I like those players. Like, is there something to that? Do you think, or is it more than what I'm putting it into?
You like narratives, is what you're telling
I
me.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
He loves
Or
the story. Yep.
Like a war story or something.
Well,
like
he's
that.
big
Like,
on up and down weeks.
I'm
So,
big
like,
about psychoanalysis. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's where you can get lost into trying to find something to get behind. And that's why I said narratives. It's because you're creating it. And I thought you were going to bring out one of them, which you didn't, which is the revenge game. Like,
Yes,
having
the
something to
revenge
play for.
game.
I should.
I wrote.
Yeah.
Start
I
Brock
wrote an article-
Osweiler this week.
Oh my God! You want to talk about the other side of it? The Texans might shank him in
Yeah.
the backfield. Honestly.
Yeah, that's more what's going to happen.
Took
Yeah.
our money.
They can't be happy about that. I wrote an article. What's funny is that's another one you can't see because it was for football.com, but I wrote an article about revenge games, and that's a complete myth. Look, there's
Really?
going to be things. Yeah, 100%. Tristan Cockrell from ESPN. Here's a real quick, short story. It could be a much longer if I wanted to be. But anyway, spent all these months working on it because it was a lot of data to dig through because I went back a decade. And I had to post the article, but it was by the time I finished, it was going to be a Friday, and they wanted to wait till Monday because Monday's got a better hit rate for websites. As everybody knows, Friday people are not really paying attention. In any case, Tristan's article comes out Saturday, and same exact thing. Why it's a myth. A different angle he took, but he, ESPN versus me. if I would have beat him to the punch, I maybe would have got a little bit more traction. But he basically wrote for the same thing, 2 days before mine came out. And unfortunately, mine that got, very little traction, got destroyed. But anyway, the entire point being is you can find things every single day, but more often than not, it's a reactive. It's the bias confirmation is, the revenge game is, you see somebody perform well against a team they faced before. And it's like, oh yeah, it's because it's a revenge game. When it doesn't happen, nobody says anything. Somebody's got, oh, look at Tom Brady. He's a vegan and all this kind of diet stuff. Nobody's talking about and nobody's talking about Drew Brees and his diet. And Drew Brees is like just breaking records and almost as old as him. And nobody's talking about him. So it's more confirmation bias than anything. People look for narratives, and there's going to be things that fire people up. They're like, hey, if I ever played sports and I faced the freaking Cowboys, I'd be fired up because I hate them with my life. So you're creating narratives, and you can get caught in them because, again, even if you see the results, sometimes you're just confirming what you want to believe.
That's a really good point, because I'm like getting played with my psychoanalysis because, people don't bring that up. I've never heard someone mention it that way. That you just don't hear people talking about Drew Brees.
Well, people, and people do this too. People also, I'll give you another one, and this is a little bit less. This is kind of like psychoanalysis within your fantasy football league. And I'm going to give one because I just got asked this tonight when I went to Wavy to do the recording over there that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Is the guy said, I'm facing a team that's 7-0. He has Mitchell Trubisky. Should I go pick up Taylor Gabriel and start him over Tyler Boyd? I said, no, people do that way too much.
Oh,
You ignore ignore the person you're facing. You start your best players because guess what? If Trubisky has a bad game and you put Taylor Gabriel in your lineup, Taylor Gabriel's having a bad game too. Tyler Boyd's going to be Tyler Boyd either way. So don't get caught in that who is the other person playing. People do that way too often.
It's starting to make sense why he's who he is.
I've been telling him for years,
Goodness
Jake.
gracious.
We've been saying
Mind blown emoji. All right.
So let's get back to non-narrative football here. We'll talk about the Jacksonville. Oh, hey, got the screen pointer. Hey, what's up? All right.
It's Pumbaa.
How do you play the Jacksonville backfield when Fournette returns in Week 10? Now that they traded for Hyde and they have Yeldon still in the mix, knowing that in most leagues, one of those three or all three are on somebody's roster. What would be the advice there when Fournette comes back?
Well, first of all, your receiver is the best fantasy wide receiver out there, period. I just want to throw that out there. I have him on so many teams. I love Adam Thielen so much.
These guys laughed at me. I kept him as a keeper. I was like, man, I'm in a PPR. I'm going to get catches all day. And it's actually blowing my mind.
I'm so glad he did. I spent the entire offseason telling people to stop getting this Stephon Diggs hype because it's Adam Thielen.
He's wearing a Stephon Diggs jersey.
Oh, but the only reason I wear this one is because my Thielen jersey, I ordered off some site. It came out from like Japan. And it was way too big. You can tell because I used to be in the Navy, so I've been in those areas and picked up like the fake things that look real.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna keep wearing my Diggs jersey because
is the screen big? Can you see the Barkley one?
Yeah, I can see the
C6.
Yeah,
that's one of those overseas $30 jerseys.
That's exactly what it was. It took like 5 months. I ordered for my younger brother for Christmas. It came in February. I was like, I guess I'll keep this one.
Those are like 5-year-old children over there stitching it by hand month by month.
That's just the sad truth. Yeah. But anyways, so
the Jaguars, this when Fournette's back and healthy, it's his backfield. That's not a question in my mind. The only question is if after the bye, is he really? I mean, this is all speculation right now. Is that everybody keeps saying he's coming back after the bye? Well, Dalvin Cook was supposed to come back 3 weeks ago, and we're still Dalvin, and now he's another 2 weeks. So if after the bye he's healthy, it's going to be Fournette with a mix of Hyde and Yeldon. I actually don't see either one of them being a take over the backup job. If let's say Fournette's out, and actually even this week, for example, I think it's going to be close to a 50-50 split. As good as TJ Yeldon's looked, the Hyde is the insurance if Fournette can't play for the rest of the year. But Hyde, as good as he's looked, is not. Neither one of them are really, hey, they need to lead that backfield. Maybe one takes over for 1 week, but I think more often than not, it'd be like a 50-50 split. And then especially facing the Eagles, I don't want to deal with either of them this week. But when Fournette comes back, I would say Fournette's probably still going to see about 60% of those touches.
Okay. Were you surprised by that trade of bringing Hyde in with how decent Yeldon was looking? But you think with that injury, they were just a little too desperate to pick up another guy, trade away a pick?
I kind of do, honestly, because it's not anything against Hyde. I'm a Hyde fan going back to college. His biggest issue has only been health.
Yeah,
it's just
it was Ohio State days, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then the thing is, if you look at it, to your point, though, what you just said is it felt like a desperate, like, obviously they're concerned about Fournette. So that's the one side. But did you need to trade for Hyde? Like, there's other running backs sitting out there, and I keep throwing out Darkwa. Maybe Darkwa is just not healthy, and nobody's like his medicals, and he hasn't been able to come back 100%. Or I'm looking at the running back landscape. Look at the fact they took the flyer on Charles. Like, you're telling me T.J. Yeldon and Charles could have held things down until Fournette was back. So that's the only thing I can think of is why I say let's be a little bit cautious on saying Fournette's definitely back after the bye.
Right.
If they brought in Charles, very limited. I know Charles has nothing left at this point, but you make this kind of trade and you're telling me you're that confident Fournette's coming back after the bye? I don't know about that.
Yeah, it kind of does make you really wary if you're a Fournette owner. All right, so one last question here. Big trade happened with Amari Cooper. And I heard about what he said. It kind of keeps him. I don't think he'll be changed much for him, but what would this help? Does this make Dak Prescott fantasy relevant again? Like, we know Cooper, he's going to get whatever comes his way if he drops or catches it or returns his early days. But with Dak Prescott, everyone likes him kind of as a Russell Wilson-like for ground and pass game. But do you think this elevates Prescott, maybe third-tier, second-tier quarterback in fantasy?
No, not really, because the biggest appeal Dak Prescott had was low turnovers and the rushing, and even in his big season, it was 6 rushing touchdowns. So that's the thing. You said it right. It's the Russell Wilson appeal, but at least Russell Wilson is always throwing for like mid-20s touchdowns with that, or
Right.
getting 500 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, or that was the mix. Is like Dak Prescott, even in his best year, you were still talking about low 20s. I don't see him ever being 25 to 30 touchdowns, even with Cooper. And so you really want him to run. Maybe that helps open things up. But the problem with Cooper is he's Cooper, and I've never owned him. Actually, that's not true. I've never drafted him. I got him last year in a trade because somebody was willing to give him as a throw-in because they were so tired of Amari Cooper. And that's the truth. Like, he is, I'm sure you guys mentioned it. You've seen Pat Mayo. He's worst plays for me. He's always been Jared Cook, Tavon Austin, and Amari Cooper have always been my I will never own you if possible guys. Because Amari Cooper shows up for 1 week for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and people think that's going to happen for the rest of the year, and then he disappears for 5 weeks. I said this 2 years ago. He's this generation Santana Moss, and nobody wants to admit it. Is he shows up 3 or 4 times a year, and that's it. And everybody's chasing those games. So if you own him, if he's out there, a lot of people drop them. Wait for that big game and then go trade him, because you might be able to trade him right now because everybody's making the excuses. Everybody's like, well, he's with Dak Prescott now, and they need the help and they need the offense. You don't trade a first rounder to not use Amari Cooper. By the way, for this whole point, Dak Prescott has a lower catchable pass rate to outside receivers than than Cooper ever dealt with Derek Carr. So it could actually be worse.
Yeah, I'm thinking throwing wise, and I'm a football coach, and there I was thinking the same thing. And I watched, that Amazon special with the Cowboys, and I used to see like the frustration from Dez Bryant. I'm like, there's a reason why Dez went downhill, because it wasn't Romo putting the ball.
Did you see that clip? Did you see the clip that they were inside the 5-yard line? It was 3 straight plays with 2 overthrows and then 1 behind him.
Yep. It's like, okay, we're not going to make great receivers out of the quarterback like Rodgers does with these no-namers sometimes. Like, the quarterback does throw those receivers open and puts in beautiful spots. So I agree with you there. I don't think.
So you're a coach. I want to ask you a question.
All right.
I want to ask you, because I've had this argument a million times with 2 of my closest friends, and I've brought this up on podcasts, and everybody's agreed with me so far.
Oh, boy.
No pressure.
We were sitting there, and we were talking about it, and I was like, dude, you just don't understand the window when it comes to the NFL of, like, you have to throw it before the window's there, and the window itself is open for milliseconds, a second at most. And they're like, if you gave me 10 pass attempts with, like, the Patriots, I could complete 1. I was like, no, you couldn't. I could give you 40 pass attempts. You're not stepping into the NFL field and completing a pass.
Yeah, no, that window, open is not open to a fan. when you throw things open and they don't understand that saying, what do you mean throw me? So you got to like that trust has to be there. I'm going to carry him over before that safety comes rocking down. That's my window. And some quarterbacks are more for a man-on-man type defense where, I could throw it after my receiver makes a move, but when it throws through windows, like Drew Brees blows my mind because he's barely 6 feet tall and he's throwing beautifully. Like it's a talent. And like you've got to be able to get it out in like 0.3 seconds at balls flying. I go back in for my quarterback days and I have to throw sometimes scout D against my varsity defense. And I was like, well, not even my heyday, I can get that ball back. That's high school. So when I hear an average Joe sitting around, I can do it. I'm like, no, you can't.
Oh, yeah, I can do it with 10 pounds. You're throwing it to a plane-sized window that doesn't even exist yet.
Right.
And, I could complete a pass.
Yeah, and the NFL ball is different than what we play with in pickup games or even high school. I'm like, that's even a more difficult one to throw and to grip. So I'm like, no. Even for me that's played the position, I'm going to say no and never.
No. Okay, but if you gave me Saquon Barkley on an arrow route, I could shut the hell up.
No. It would drop like 20 yards short because you have no clue how to get the ball to him. Oh, man. Well, this was a lot of fun. I love this
Thanks for joining us, Jake.
Yeah, let me turn you right back to Sean
Sorry to
here.
hold you over here a little later.
No, that's okay. I said 30 minutes with the expectancy just in case it went 40, 45.
Well, cool. We want to get you out so that, maybe next time you'll come on. But no, thanks. No obligations. We really enjoyed having you, and it was a real fun time.
No, I appreciate it. They gave the thanks to Ryan. He's the one that asked.
There we go.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
The issue now is that you set the standards so high that our listeners will be like, I don't know. It's not going to be as great as before.
Yeah, Jake, you just ruined our show. This wasn't the plan.
You're not the first person to tell me that.
All my analysis just goes out the window now.
All right, man. Thanks, Jake, for coming on.
All right.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right. Thanks, Jake, for making us feel like we know nothing about fantasy anymore. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please go listen to him on the other shows that he does. Follow him on Twitter. As you can hear, he knows his stuff. And I think it's just going to make you even enjoy fantasy even more. So let's jump right into our stuff. We call this the B Squad work. Here we go. Overall thoughts of Week 7. Sean, this is all you. What's up?
Yeah, I just had a big one. It's watching Saquon Barkley and seeing the workload and the usage that he's getting. There's only one player I would rather keep, and that's your Todd Gurley.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm a
it's
Gurley
crazy
man.
to think, but I'm at the place where I would take Barkley to keep over anyone else. He's on a crappy team, and he's doing this. Just imagine if anything improves. I mean, he can easily take that spot from Todd Gurley. So I'm just Barkley.
Rebuttal?
He's my number 2.
Oh, I wouldn't rebuttal at all. I agree with it. I saw what Tidewater Turtles or Boy Daniel did when he let go of Odell, right? Remember when we talked about that keeper thing? He was just hoping, making Tim think a little bit because he wanted Barkley as well. Seeing probably another version of Todd Gurley, even a David Johnson type player. I think David Johnson just needs to be on a better team. You can see the same. Let's go to reviewing our Clash of the Titan trivia that we did last week. We're going to see where we went wrong and where we went right. So, Sean, let's go to the
just
scoreboard.
a quick recap. We did a top 15 wide receiver that would be sneaky. I got that wrong with Josh Gordon. Chris got it wrong with Taylor Gabriel. Ryan got it right with John Brown. So Ryan's there, got the win over us on that one. Then lockdown defenses, I picked the Colts. I'd say that was a lockdown defense there. How many turnovers? Goodness gracious. Apparently you don't need Peterman to get turnovers from the Buffalo Bills.
Just play the defense against the Bills.
Yeah. So they were a top 5 finish. And then the Chargers for Chris weren't, and the Dolphins, no, were not for Ryan.
I'm 0 for 2. I don't know anything.
Yeah, so 0-2, 1-1 here. Me and Ryan, I guess, duke it out this week here. And so this week one, we're going to highlight a running back for David here, Jalen Richard. Is he going to be a top 20 running back this week? What do you think, Ryan?
I think that anybody in that backfield could. They give the ball to mainly one guy there. So, 20 is pretty easy to get.
Especially with the bye weeks, So I said yes as well. I think with the amount of PPR work he's going to get, we're in a half-point PPR. He's gotten no less than 6 catches, I think, in each game, even with Marshawn Lynch. Yeah. So if that goes up a little bit, he's pretty easily top 20. But Chris thinks a little bit otherwise. I think he's just going to miss it.
Half of it is because I put that juju on David.
Oh, gosh,
All
here we
right,
go again.
I'm stuck with that, making it worse. But the drama going on with that team and these trades going in there, I just don't even know if like they can get it together to produce that. It is easy to get in the top 20. It is in there, but I got a feeling that we might not see it. We might see a little more of a happy Oakland Raider thing because Derek Carr. I mean, they just called him out for crying during film session. Like,
Ridiculous.
there's so much going on there that I have no idea. I hope they go to Jordy Nelson. I did pick him up on the waiver wire after that trade. So personally, I want to say no, but I don't think it's the Oakland Raiders, so they can probably screw it up.
Sneaky top 5 or 15 wide receiver has to be projected outside of that. I did Alshon Jeffrey. He's got kind of a tough matchup, but he's just a touchdown machine. Wentz looks for him down there. He's been the number 1 target by far outside of Ertz, so I think he's got a great shot at top 15. Chris, who you got?
I put Edelman. He's still on the outside, but I think he works his way back into what the Edelman that we are expected to see week in, week out. So I think he'll be in there.
Especially if Gronk's out, that'll be a great pick. And then Ryan, who'd you have there?
I got Geronimo Allison.
Geronimo!
I hope so. I'm debating starting him. I can't decide whether to start him over Drake or Latavius. Or no.
Drake or Latavius?
No, over Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones on the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
I would go with Marvin Jones. There.
Okay.
Oh, Marvin Jones, that Detroit passing attack is ridiculous. Is it Galladay? Is it
It's
Golden
just a
Tate?
spin the wheel. I don't like it.
It's a great production if you put all 3 of the numbers together.
The reason I like Allison over them is because they're playing against the Rams, and it's going to be a freaking shootout between the Rams and Aaron Rodgers. So I just think somewhere in there he's going to get a touchdown. But I don't know.
I like
history
Allison.
would
I like
show.
Allison, and I do think that he's gonna like start to overcome the other receivers to become the 2. But Marvin Jones is still like the wide receiver 2
Yeah.
in Detroit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
All right. And then lockdown defense. I had the Patriots. I stole the easy one. They're playing
That
the
was
Bills.
easy one. They're
Those
playing the
turnover
Bills,
Bills.
yeah.
So
And then I picked the Redskins. They're going against the Giants this week. They can't get out of their own way, and the Redskins put 15 points fantasy-wise up against an ugly Dallas offense that also can't get out of their own way in divisions. So they know each other really well, and I think they can get to Eli pretty easily.
Ryan?
yeah, I've got the Chiefs, and this is an if you must situation because I mean the Broncos aren't all that bad on offense. It's just more like kind of a gut call. So.
Okay.
All right, now we got the freak out. Oh, freak out!
Oh, he's got a
Man, even
little
with that
sick
cold,
today, so.
almost got that there. All right, we really need that soundboard because I'm not going to make that every week. For my freak out session here, I'm thinking of the 49ers and the Jaguars. Running back owners of any of those guys on those teams, you're freaking out because you don't know exactly who
That's
to play.
yeah.
Breida got negative points.
Yeah,
For
Tim
it.
started him.
Yeah, I had Alfred Morrison on my bench. Had no clue what was going on there. So it's extremely tough to find out who's going to be that lead dog in San Francisco and Jacksonville week in, week out, now being awkward committees. I won't even just call them regular committees. They're awkward committees right now.
Yeah.
Sean?
My freak out is Diggs, and it's a not freak out. So he's had 2 down weeks, and I don't like giving Phil advice, but I would never be able to get him in a trade, so I will tell him. And other people that could use this advice. If you have Diggs, don't trade him. And if you don't have Diggs, go out and just put some trade offers out there, man. You'd be surprised what you could get right now to get Diggs. They're probably freaking out thinking that, Adam Thielen's taken over. And Diggs is, but I think he's like top 5 targets still.
Yeah,
like
he
he's
gets
getting,
all of his targets. As a Viking fan, watching all the games, wearing my Diggs jersey, it's he gets a lot of the short yardage stuff right now.
It's going to pick up.
But like with the Jets, they were talking about alternating. Teams are still putting their number 1 DB roaming around with Diggs, and then now they're trying to figure out. Okay, now they're shadowing a little more on Thielen.
What do we do? They're both good.
So it might sting me later because then they might be rolling over to Thielen, but Diggs is not. It's not like he's not getting any looks.
Yeah,
and he's staying happy because he's always getting his targets. He's just waiting to break one to get going. But I think you just stay packed or offer a really big offer to Phil.
Yeah. All right, so the pickup line. What do you got for us, Chris?
So
this
here's
week?
my pickup line.
It's our waiver wire pickup of last week that really made a difference. But
All right.
we also get the knowledge from the love guru.
The love guru. I'll go up to a lady and I was
Magic.
like, I'm no mathematician, but I'm pretty good with numbers. Tell you what, give me yours and watch what I can do with it. Ching. Right there. That's how you get easy digits with that line.
So the
Wow, man.
pickup of the week was Mitchell Trubisky. I got to give you props, Daniel.
Oh,
that took some
great
balls
pickup.
to put in Mitchell Trubisky over Tom Brady.
Good job.
It's also how he won. I think he only won by 5 points.
5 points.
31 points for Mitchell Trubisky and 21 for Brady.
Yeah.
So that was the difference.
I got mad at Sony Michelle getting forget her. It's really weird how fantasy goes in real life. It's like, you only got me 2 points and I lost by 5. But you're right. That Trubisky pickup, I was like, geez, that could have been that difference maker there too. I mean, if he gets his average in the low 20s, I would have won.
I know.
You know?
All those shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Darn you, Daniel in Arizona.
Yep. All right. So the bench player this coming week, that we think you should start that might not be in your starting lineup. I'm going to do Jalen Richard. Talked about him a little bit. I'm going to give David the confidence. Put him in. I think right off the bat here, he's at least going to uptick his workload in the passing game. Cooper's gone now, so that's another target gone.
Yeah.
Derek Carr's just going to be looking to dump off. So I think you're pretty safe with Richard.
Yeah, Joe, I'm looking at you here with you have some good running backs.
Put him in, man.
Yeah, put James White in, especially now with my
Or trade
running
him
back,
to me.
Sony Michelle, being out. David Johnson, he's just in a terrible place. He's a great back. He's just on a terrible team. Well, maybe Byron Leftwich, now being promoted to offense coordinator, does a little bit more with him. But I think this week, put in James White going against the Bills Monday night.
Yeah.
He's going to look good. He's going to get his touches, catching, rushing. Start him or trade him to me. Okay.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I got Eckler.
Advice for yourself?
I wasn't too pleased with his
That was weird.
performance as a RB1. He got like 9 points. And for me, that's just kind of pathetic. Like, you had a shot, and he's been actually doing better than that as an RB2.
I think
So-
sometimes with roles, and this comes from a coaching perspective, that guys that are change of pace guys, there's a game plan to it. Like when you see a defense that's on the ropes here, man, you put in that change of pace guy, or you game plan using Eckler, because Eckler was in the slot a couple of times with Gordon in the backfield. So the things that we were so used to him being great at, it was a complete changeover. He's like, oh, I'm now the workhorse.
And a little bit of probably Gordon opening up those holes, the offense already kind of being established, that when Eckler gets in, you probably are expecting a passing play.
Yeah.
So that could be a little bit of, they're loading the box now knowing this is the only guy we got to worry
Yeah,
about.
it comes down to play call. I bet you that OC, if he was in the box or down the sideline, was like looking through his card, like, oh, okay, I did not game plan this way. What do we got to do?
All right, so Mr. Kicker Whisperer over here. What do you got for us? I think he worked out last week, right? Adam Vinatieri, he was pretty good.
Nah, that wasn't the best, but he also suffered like a quad injury complication.
Quads, man.
Those old men and their quads.
Got to get a massage.
I smell a shootout coming up between the
So
Rams
do I.
and the Packers. So
He's got his confidence back, Mason Crosby.
I believe Mason Crosby is a great pickup.
Yeah.
So
All right,
yeah.
nice.
Let's look at that. All right,
So-
what's our next segment here, Sean?
Yeah, so earlier on with Jake, we did a little segment where we did an icebreaker and talked about our Disney character that we relate to. And so we're going to take a quiz on air here real
Online
quick. That'll be
on-air
fun.
quiz.
We'll kind of help each other give the answers, making sure we're not
Yes.
cheating and, get who we want.
So this is on Zimbio.com.
1 of 15.
Yes, 1 of 15. So we'll start off. First question is choose an activity: rock climbing, martial arts, parkour, cross country skiing, or rowing.
Martial arts.
None of these. I'll do. Dang, I don't like any of them.
Rock climbing or parkour for me. I feel like rock climbing. I don't. I'm parkour.
I'm going to choose.
You would be probably pretty good at parkour.
I'm going to choose parkour because I love The Office. Parkour.
All right, now pick a pet: a monkey, a reindeer, a horse, or a dog. I know Ryan is not picking a dog.
I do not like. We'll lose all our viewers. I do not like dogs.
I picked a dog.
I'm a dog.
definitely
I'm a dog guy.
I mean, if you must, be kind of cool to like have your own horse, ride around.
You don't want Rudolph?
I can just see you running around town on your horse.
All right, now choose your
Yeah.
favorite country: China, Spain, Iran, Norway, or England?
Where's America?
I know. I don't really like any of these countries.
Well, I speak Spanish, so I'm gonna go Spain. But
I was kind of thinking
England is like our ally. We have to go with England.
I'll go with
I
England.
believe Spain is too, though, right? Ugh.
Who knows? We don't know anything about our country.
Spania. I'll go Spain because I've been there a couple times. So
Yo lo elegí, amigo.
All right, pick something to eat: fish, apple, cupcake, power bar, or carrots.
Oh, straight cupcake,
If any
bro.
of you guys say cup,
Straight cupcake, bro.
Yeah, I could see.
oh my gosh, Chris.
These love handles don't grow themselves.
I'm gonna go. I don't really like any of these
Pick
things.
something like I don't know, like this is like
going
what
with
you
an
got to
apple.
eat a lot of.
I'm going with an apple.
Apple.
Cupcakes.
Yeah,
I can eat a lot of cupcakes.
I
Power
like
bar.
carrots.
Power bar is the best all around. That'll
It is
keep
pretty
you alive
good.
the longest
it's definitely a Ryan answer. I'm going with an apple.
I'm going to die quickly with the cupcake.
and happily.
And happily.
All right, what element do you most identify with? Oh, this is a deep question.
This is like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, wind, fire, or water?
Are we like
I'm gonna go wind.
Captain?
To be honest.
Captain Planet
Why? Because
here?
you pass wind a lot? Or
Oh,
Pumbaa over here, maybe.
yeah, boom. Yeah, man.
What do I?
Ah,
I don't know.
I better be a good Disney prince, a handsome one.
A
I'm
handsome
gonna
one.
pick Fire.
I'm
If
gonna
I'm
go.
not handsome,
yeah,
I'm gonna
fire.
be mad.
Definitely fire.
Two-time champ.
Okay.
I'll bring the fire.
This is a funny one for Ryan. Okay, choose something to wear: a collared shirt, a casual shirt, no shirt, please.
No shirt, please.
Yeah, that's
Well,
fine. I'm going
definitely
casual.
Casual shirt here.
Oh, we got an advertisement.
Actually, I will collared shirt there. I'll be different.
Pick
just
a
for that.
weapon.
Pick
Oh,
a we-
What fun.
a bow and arrow, a sword, a frying pan. That's interesting. Or your fist.
Do you want long range, short range frying pan?
I'm going the bow and arrow. I just want to be Legolas. So
I'm going with a frying pan because that's like two things. You can
you can
block
cook your
something
cupcake
with
in your
that.
frying pan.
You can hit somebody with it and put a little skillet on the go. You know, it's just like a
Yeah.
3-in-1 there.
I'm probably gonna go with a sword,
Okay.
short range.
All right, Ryan. Be honest.
How big
How
are
big
your
are your muscles?
Man, this week
are
I
they
haven't
huge?
been really working out.
They're pretty
so
huge. Your
Huge.
pecs are kind of popping out of that
Solidly
Hurley shirt.
medium. Solidly medium.
I am. They didn't.
That's
they,
about where I'm at.
They didn't say bubbly and bouncy. I don't, where's mine? I'll go solidly medium because I'm definitely not slender.
All right, which of these romantic gestures are you down with the most? The moonlight boat ride, a magic carpet. Oh, this is obviously for Ryan over there. We can't pick
man.
that one now. A good workout together. Oh, there's Ryan's.
That's definitely not for me.
A sleigh ride.
A good workout.
A moonlight boat ride.
I'm gonna go with a sleigh ride.
That's
is there
really
one-
romantic, dude.
Yeah, I don't want to be in the water, so
Wow.
I'm not Eric. That's who he's getting.
a man's
Oh
hair.
no, I just realized who I got. I don't want that guy. Okay, a man's hair should be in a ponytail, a little long so there's something to tussle up, or short. I'm firmly in the short here. I've never had long hair.
Definitely gonna go
I'm gonna go short.
short.
Yeah, we're all going short with that one.
What are you most likely to say? My debt is repaid. Here comes the smolder.
Oh yes, that is
Wait,
all
what?
Ryan.
That's it. Wait, what? You're only in trouble if you get caught. Sounds like Ryan. I lost her once. I won't lose her again. Sounds like Ryan.
That's me.
They're all you. My debt is repaid.
My debt is repaid.
I like here comes the smolder.
I'm doing. I lost her once. I won't lose her again.
Yes, me too.
I'm going with the smolder.
All right, 12 of 15. What's the most important quality in a man?
Yeah.
Is it their humor, their attractiveness, their wealth,
All
or
about the
strength?
Benjamins.
See-
Make it rain.
Humor is pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like wealth is pretty dang important.
So girls can be rich or be laughing. I think they're gonna go with rich.
Attractiveness, strength.
To me, like the first thing is you have to be attractive to that person before the rest of the stuff sticks, right?
not
You'll
bad.
go across, you see a pretty girl, and you're like, hey, you know what? I like it. 2 seconds later, it's like, oh, I'm finding my exit like ASAP.
But see, girls don't think that way. Although this is what I guess this is what we find most
Girls,
attractive
this
in a
is
man.
guys. If
Yeah.
we figured this out, we figured out a mystery
Yeah.
that no man has ever
But I
figured
think
out.
the most
Girls,
important
it's
quality
funny.
in a man.
Funny is number one for girls. I
Yeah.
guarantee. You.
Usually,
They always say funny.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm looking for an important quality man,
Wealth
my
act-
friends have to be attractive. If I'm not attracted to you,
All right.
can't be friends. I'm gonna go humor.
All right.
would you rather be funny or attractive? You can't be both.
Well, I'm one funny guy.
I'll go with.
What does that say? No.
I'd rather be attractive than humorous.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with that.
Where would you prefer to live? Somewhere in the forest, a beautiful castle, anywhere in the city. Well, I kind of want to be in the city.
Castle sounds like really nice though and protected.
That's kind of sweet though.
I like the castle because you have like 50 rooms.
You can
in the
have your
house.
own like little kingdom.
Yeah,
I'm going with castle.
castle.
Shoot.
All right,
What's your best physical quality, guys? You guys can do mine first.
Yes. His
Ryan,
hot bod.
What is-
hot bod?
Is it his smile? Go ahead.
Nope.
Oh, nice. Is it the hair? Oh, it's got to be
definitely gotta be the hair.
Nothing happened when you did that.
Yeah, I know, right? It's
It's
like
just stuck. And or is it his hot bod?
Pet-
Definitely your hot bod.
it's your hot bod.
I like my hair. I think I got some good hair.
I'm wearing a hat because I'm losing
All
my
right,
hair.
so my hot bod.
Chris has got a nice smile.
I got a smile.
He's got a great
there we
smile.
go. My crooked teeth.
You got a
I
hot
like
bod
the
too,
smile.
Chris.
There you go. What?
Wink.
Wink. Some people like the
Last
dad bod.
question here. Do you believe in love at first sight?
When
This
Yeah.
is deep.
I see
People-
that cupcake, yeah.
Here's the thing. People always say it was love at first sight. I think you just saw her and you got married to her. This is like what Jake was saying before. You don't look at the other side of the equation when it doesn't work.
It's the narrative
With
works, so
fantasy
love
football.
at first sight is for real.
So love at first sight. I'm gonna go with yes, but Jake, you worked on my mind today.
All right.
You messed
I'm picking no.
All right, so let's start with Ryan here. Oh, no.
Who are you?
You got somebody muscular.
Let's get down to business
You
to defeat the Huns.
Oh, you got
Li Shang.
nice.
Shang.
I am strong, protective, and motivated by a noble purpose. Expressing my emotions doesn't come easy. But eventually, I'll do it.
I don't think this one fits for me.
No. Well, who are you?
I'm
Who-
Prince-
Who you?
Prince Eric,
Prince Eric from what?
Ariel's man.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
That's a pretty good one for you.
Well,
Yeah.
but I don't like the end of it.
What's
says,
it
so it
say?
says, well, first off, this is Ryan. You've had good luck in your life. That's not me at all.
it's almost
and then
said
it
that luck
says-
hasn't
I
come.
mean, look outside of fantasy football. We're
I've
talking
had
about.
good luck outside. That's true.
Okay, cool.
But you don't take any of it for granted. You love the ocean and appreciate those who do too. I don't really. Well, I kind of love the ocean.
Dude.
I just don't like being deep
Have you
in
seen
the
your
ocean.
house?
That's true. There's a couple things that. All right, I'm really
Perfect
curious
aquatics.
what Chris.
That's
has.
a good one, dude.
And I've never seen whatever this guy's in because I guess I never stopped watching
Oh,
New
you're
Disney.
the Rapunzel dude.
I'm Flynn Rider from Rapunzel. I
I
guess.
think
Oh.
Rapunzel.
It says you're funny, charming, and mischievous. I don't know about the mischievous part. Underneath all that bravado is a sensitive soul waiting to come out and be saved.
So you get saved
so
by
Chris-
Rapunzel.
Oh yeah,
That last part, is it true?
yeah, no. What are you talking about? To be saved?
Waiting to be saved. Like when your wife came into your life, did she save you?
She saved me from myself and made me the man that I am today.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that.
Ooh.
Boom.
Better listen
Shout out
to
to
this
your
one.
wife.
Yes.
I'll have
All
to
right,
make sure to play
so-
this part of the podcast for her.
That was our quiz. Hopefully, some of that was entertaining.
If
Last.
not,
Go ahead.
it's cool.
Yeah. And then we have our injury report with Tim here. Get us back to some real life
Real
stuff.
football. Here we go.
All right, we're back with Tim here. Injury report time. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, we'll get right into it. You'll notice a trend through a lot of these as usual. This season has been the season of the hamstring. So if I mention a guy with a hamstring, I would advise probably looking in a different direction until you see him full participation for a full week prior to the game. And even then, you might want to see a little bit of game work, prior to him coming back. You can go back and look at Dalvin Cook, him coming back against the game against the Rams. He came back maybe a little bit too soon, and he's been out since. So he's on my list as a guy who will be out. I think they've cleared him to, or said he's out until at least week 11 after their bye coming back. So that'll be kind of a trend for a couple of these guys. Some really sad news out there today. Bilal Powell, or however you want to say his name, Bilal Powell. He injured his neck. They didn't really give any specifics with that, but he's going to have season-ending neck surgery, and that's potentially even career-ending. So that's obviously you never really want to see that. So Isaiah Crowell, obviously he has a huge uptick in snaps he's going to get there, and then it's just going to be a challenge there to figure out what's going to happen next. Next on my list, I have Sony Michel. Looks like he had avoided a serious knee injury.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
It didn't look good. He's still not been ruled out for Monday, but I would expect him to maybe miss some time still. This is the same knee that he had operated on over the preseason, so that kind of complicates things. Whether or not
I was wondering that if it was
whether or not he's re-injured things there, they'll probably take him a little bit slower, and they'll continue to be mysterious about the injury report.
Yeah.
The other Patriot on my list is Gronk. I thought he had a ankle injury initially, but it looked like he was held out of the game on Sunday against the Bears because of back spasms.
Yeah.
And so that's the more concern this week. I think it's the back spasms. They have him listed as questionable. They play a Monday night game, which puts fantasy owners in a really awkward position. Do you hold out? Do you pick up another Patriot tight end or somebody else in that matchup?
Would you risk it or just?
It's hard to say. With Gronk, I was surprised to see him inactive on Sunday. That gives me a concern. Normally, I would say questionable Patriot, just play him.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be in there. But the fact that he's already missed one game, I really don't know if you can trust that.
Yeah.
Maybe look elsewhere this week until you see maybe he gets full participation in at the end of the week. And then he can be a little bit more comfortable starting him.
Yeah, take a week off there, Gronk. I'm playing Andy.
Yeah, there you go. Delvin Cook, we've already talked about. Leonard Fournette is the other guy coming back after his bye, most likely. So he'll be out another couple of weeks. But you can always raise the point. Why would you give away a 5th-round pick to go get another running back if you are confident he's going to make it back? So I'm going to throw the suspect flag out there on Fournette and say I wouldn't be surprised to see him this year, to not see him at all this year.
Yeah,
for
especially if
the remainder
they
of the season.
keep not doing well, they're not going to risk their future there.
Exactly. Royce Freeman looks like he had an ankle injury. Ankle injuries are always tough. Sometimes guys are able to play through them. They get spatted up, and then they're fine. Breida's another guy. I'm officially not playing him until he sits out a couple games. So we'll see about that one. We got a pair of hamstrings on the Packers receiving core, Randall Cobb and Geronimo Allison. They're both kind of limited. Again, those are ones that you would ideally see full participation throughout the week before starting them. I think they've already been limited this week, so I'd be pretty hesitant to start them up on Sunday. I think they have a juicy matchup against the Rams, which is going to be really high scoring. So that's going to be a hard one.
They were held out last week, I think, so that's kind of a little...
Yeah, I think that's a big one. It has a lot of playoff implications in it. So if they're at all able to play, they're probably going to be out there, and they're going to be, juicy targets, that sort of thing. But can you trust them is always the question we come back to, so it's a little tough. Marshawn Lynch officially on IR. He has a sports hernia is what I've heard. That's a difficult injury. There's a lot of discussion about the best way to manage that. A lot of the time it requires surgery, and it's a long process. It's part of your core musculature in the front of your abdomen that typically has a small tear in it, and it's just a pain because you use your core muscles to do pretty much anything. And so if you have stitches or anything in there, it's just taking a while to heal and get your core strength back, which is important. And then Melvin Gordon, we can add him to the hamstring list. Good thing for him. He's already on a bye. They already held him out a week. If they're being cautious with him, I think we'll see him back after a couple weeks. I would hope to see him out at least maybe 1 or 2 more weeks to hit that 4-week mark. I feel more comfortable with people holding out a little bit longer with hamstrings.
Maybe they'll learn from the mistakes of
There's plenty of examples in the league right now, so hopefully it goes well. Again, as always, if you have any questions, game time decisions, feel free to text me. I'm happy to answer them.
Yep, thanks, Tim.
Boom. Thank you, Tim. I need to listen to you more often there. Dalvin Cook, please change his. And Sony Michelle, please change that for me. Can you be like a magic doctor and take care of that? All right, let's go to our outro. Next week, we're going to go to episode 11, my favorite number, and all the numbers.
Fun fact.
What do we expect, man, next week? Anything special in the works to be continued?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a surprise, so tune in next week. All right, so I'll send us off here. We just want to thank Jake again for joining us.
Yes.
That was a ton of fun.
Man. Thank you.
Go check him out on the Pat Mayo Experience Fantasy Footballers podcast. He's also got his own podcast he's starting up. He's doing a Patreon, so you can get extra content that way. He's on The Athletic. Check him out on Twitter at AllInKid. Thanks so much. Subscribe. Tell your friends about us. And we'll see you next week.
All right.